Aita, 27-year-old female, have been dating my husband, 34-year-old male, since 2018. We got married 3 years into our relationship, 2021, and things have been going extremely well. We have spent 4 years of Thanksgivings at my parents' house. This was the first time we chose to spend it at his parents' house. When we got there, my mother-in-law, Mill, her mother and both my sisters-in-law were in the kitchen, all helping each other with food. My husband and I went in there and talked for a bit. My mother-in-law asked me if I would like to help out. I said, "Not right now, would it be okay if I come back soon and help out a bit?" She very nicely said it was totally fine and told both me and my husband to get something to drink and hang out with the men and kids. My husband gave me a nasty look and said, "You're not even going to help." His mother said that they had enough people, and she just asked me in case I wanted to help with the cooking, but they all managed just fine. He grabbed a beer for himself and went to the living room. I did the same and followed after. I ended up helping them set up everything on the table as I wanted to help out just a bit. His mother did not ask me to do this, nor did my sisters-in-law. Dinner went extremely well. We talked a lot and I really liked his family. When my husband and I got in the car, he started mumbling angrily at me. I asked him about 3 times what he was saying before he blew up at me. He told me that it is their tradition that the women are in the kitchen cooking and that I disrespected his mom in her own house by acting so entitled. We ended up having an argument about this whole thing, and he has not stopped insisting that his mother is offended by this. I have not talked to her about this, and she did not tell me anything about being offended either. But I know his mom is a really nice woman who would never want to say anything bad about someone. So I'm starting to think that maybe I really disrespected his mom and she just doesn't have the heart to tell me. So am I the idiot for not following their traditions? I feel like I was a jerk because helping out would not have been that hard, and had I known the outcome I would have just stayed and helped out. Edit. I don't know if this will help my case, but I am working as a nurse and had just come from an 18-hour shift and directly went to mother-in-law's house, hence why I was not that keen on helping out with dinner. I could not get the day off. I don't know if that is even relevant or not, it is just my reasoning behind this. Edit 2. I have seen many people thinking this and I have tried responding to the comments, but I did not completely ignore or disregard the female side of my in-laws. I was sitting in the kitchen talking with them for most of the time, but I also went out to make small talk with all the other people. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. It seems like the bigger problem here is that you married someone who expects you to adhere to her sexist traditions. Comment 2. Sexist roles of women in the kitchen and men around the TV drinking beers should have been retired years ago. Not the idiot now for the update. Hey everyone, a lot has happened since I last posted about the Thanksgiving incident at my in-laws. I've been reflecting on everything and trying to navigate the situation as best as I can. After the argument with my husband in the car, things were tense for a few days. We barely spoke, and when we did, it was short and to the point. I was hurt by his reaction and the implication that I had disrespected his family's traditions, especially since I had just come off a long shift and was exhausted. I decided to reach out to my mother-in-law directly to clear the air. I called her and explained how I felt about the situation and apologized if I had unintentionally offended her. To my relief, she was as kind and understanding as ever. She assured me that she wasn't offended at all and appreciated that I had helped set the table. She even mentioned that she had told my husband that everything was fine. Feeling a bit better after the call, I approached my husband to talk about what his mom had said. I hoped this would ease his concerns and we could move past the issue. However, he didn't take it well. He accused me of going behind his back and making him look bad in front of his mom. This led to another argument, and I started to feel like I couldn't win. In the following days, I tried to give him some space while also reflecting on our relationship. I realized that this wasn't just about Thanksgiving, it was about how we communicate and respect each other's feelings. I suggested couples counseling, hoping it would help us work through our issues. Surprisingly, he agreed. The counseling sessions were eye-opening. We both had a lot to learn about each other's perspectives and how to handle disagreements. It was hard work, but it felt like we were making progress. We started to communicate better and understand where the other was coming from. Just when I thought things were improving, my husband dropped a bombshell. During one of our sessions, he admitted that he had been feeling insecure in our relationship for a while. He felt like I was always busy with work and that I didn't prioritize our family traditions. He confessed that his reaction on Thanksgiving was more about those insecurities than the actual event. I was shocked. I had no idea he felt this way. I always thought we were on the same page about balancing work and family. We spent the rest of the session discussing his feelings and how we could address them together. Things were starting to look up, but then another twist came. My sisters-in-law reached out to me, wanting to have a girls' night. I was hesitant at first, given everything that had happened, but I decided to go. It turned out to be a great decision. We bonded over wine and shared stories, and they both expressed how much they liked me and appreciated my help on Thanksgiving. The night was going well until one of them mentioned something that caught me off guard. She said, "You know, Mum was actually relieved you didn't jump into the kitchen chaos. She's been wanting to change that tradition for years, but didn't know how to bring it up." I was stunned. All this time my mother-in-law had felt the same way I did about the tradition, but she was too afraid to say anything. It made me realize that sometimes traditions can be more of a burden than a joy, and it's okay to challenge them. Armed with this new information, I went home and shared it with my husband. We had a long, heartfelt conversation about traditions, expectations, and how we can create our own as a couple. It was a breakthrough moment for us. We've decided to start our own Thanksgiving tradition next year, one that involves both of us in the kitchen and breaks away from the gender roles his family had followed for so long. My husband also apologized for not listening to me and for letting his insecurities affect our relationship. So in the end, what started as a simple misunderstanding turned into a deep dive into our relationship dynamics. It's been a tough week, but I feel like we've come out stronger and more understanding of each other. And who knows, maybe we've even started a new tradition that will last for generations to come. Now for the comments. Comment 1. Hey there. It sounds like you've been through quite the roller coaster, but kudos to you for handling it with such grace. After a long nursing shift, anyone would need a breather, and it's great that your mother-in-law understood that. It's clear you both value family and traditions, but remember, it's okay to set boundaries and take care of yourself too. Communication is key, and it seems like you're on the right track with counselling. Keep talking it out and building those new traditions together. Comment 2. Well, butter my biscuit, you've turned a Thanksgiving tiff into a full-on family breakthrough. Who knew that a little spat over spuds could lead to such a deep dive into feelings and traditions? Props to you for not just tossing the turkey and running for the hills. Instead, you've cooked up a fresh batch of understanding and even got the in-laws on board for a girls' night. Now that's what I call stirring the pot in the best way possible. Now for the next story. My 27-year-old female cousin, 26-year-old female, and her fiancé, 26-year-old male, are supposed to get married around spring. They have been engaged for 2 years. Cousin has been living with us since she was 3, after her parents passed away, and I love her dearly as my younger sister. I support her in many of her decisions, except for this marriage. I feel like my cousin is rushing into things and ignoring the fact that they're not financially stable. Neither of them has a job, and while she is in a PhD program, they're living off some of her research funds. It is not enough to make a living. They are currently residing in an apartment that his parents are paying for. To be fair, I never approved of their relationship even when they were dating, and I haven't softened up on him yet. I've been vocal with her about wanting them to break up their relationship, now engagement. I find him obnoxious and rude, and he has made some unnecessary comments that still boil me. For instance, whenever we invite them for dinner, he makes snarky remarks about my wife's traditional dishes. No, we've never forced them to eat any of them. Those were more for my wife than for them. But he compliments everything I make, even something as simple as coffee, and he keeps telling me that I'll make a good man happy one day. It's infuriating that my cousin just ignores this. His disrespect for my marriage is the reason for this whole situation. With the wedding on the way, he introduced me to the other funder, his relative. We hit it off right away. We're close in age and share similar interests, so we bonded well. But I started to notice that my brother-in-law, Bill, was behaving peculiarly. Like he would try to give us space to be alone with each other, or give us hints that we are a natural couple. I had to tell the other person that I have a wife, and what he told me in return really shocked me to the core. Brother-in-law has been going around telling his family that I'm getting a divorce because my wife cheated. The sheer audacity of this man baffled me. I left, and without saying a word to anyone, withdrew my fund. After cooling down, I informed the couple, my wife and my parents, of what I had done and why. My cousin called me crying and begging for the funds, but I told her no. If she can't afford a wedding, then don't have one. My brother-in-law has resorted to calling me names and is getting his parents involved in it as well. My parents are okay with it, as it is my money. But my wife, although she is angry with what brother-in-law did, doesn't support my action. Whether I withdrew the fund or not, they will get married and stay family with us, so this would only cause a rift with my sister. While I understand her point, I don't see why I should support the marriage of someone who doesn't respect mine. So am I the idiot for withdrawing funds because my future brother-in-law slandered my marriage? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Save the money for you and your wife. Why would you give it to a person that is trying to ruin your marriage? Comment 2. Not the idiot. He disrespected your marriage, so why would you pay for his? Especially someone who is clearly hateful. Now for the update. Thanks to everyone who read my last post. It's been a wild few months since then, and a lot has happened. I guess it's time for an update. After I withdrew the funds, things got pretty tense around the family. My cousin was devastated, and her fiancé, well, he was furious. He tried to turn the family against me, saying I was sabotaging their happiness. But when the truth about his lies came out, it was hard for anyone to take his side. My cousin and I had a long, emotional talk. She was hurt that I pulled the funding, but she was more upset about the lies her fiancé had spread. She couldn't believe he'd do something like that. It was a tough conversation, but it brought us closer. We cried, we hugged, and she thanked me for always looking out for her, even if she didn't always see it that way. The wedding plans were put on hold. My cousin needed time to think about her relationship, and honestly, I was relieved. I wanted her to marry for love, not because she felt she had to. During this time, my wife and I had our own issues to work through. She was upset about the whole situation, feeling caught in the middle between supporting me and keeping peace in the family. We had some heated discussions, but ultimately, it made us stronger. We learned to communicate better and to stand united, even when things get tough. My cousin's fiancé tried to apologize to me, probably because he realized his chances of getting any money were slipping away, but his apology felt hollow, and I wasn't ready to forgive him. Not yet. I was polite but distant, and I think he got the message that he couldn't just talk his way out of this one. As for the other funder, he was shocked by the whole ordeal. He pulled his funding too, not wanting to be involved in the drama. He and I stayed in touch though. We'd become friends, and he was a good guy who'd been misled by my future brother-in-law's lies. Fast forward to now, and things are looking up. My cousin is still in her PhD program, and she's thriving. She's more focused on her studies than ever, and she's even won a couple of awards for her research. She and her fiancé are still together, but they're in counselling. She's determined to work through their issues before they even think about setting a new wedding date. They've also started to get their finances in order. My cousin's fiancé finally got a job, and they're learning to budget and save. It's a slow process, but they're making progress. As for me, I've learned a lot about boundaries and standing up for what's right. I've also learned that sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones that lead to the best outcomes. My wife and I are closer than ever, and my relationship with my cousin is stronger too. It's not all perfect, of course. There's still some awkwardness at family gatherings, and my cousin's fiancé and I are far from being friends. But there's a sense of hope that wasn't there before. We're all moving forward, learning from our mistakes and trying to do better. So, while the wedding may be on hold, the future looks brighter. There's a sense that we're all growing and changing, and maybe, just maybe, we'll come out of this stronger than we were before. Now for the comments. Comment 1. Hey there, I get why you'd pull your support after the disrespect to your wife and the rumours. That's rough. But have you considered how this might affect your relationship with your cousin long term? Maybe a heart-to-heart could help clear the air. It's tough, but family bonds are worth the effort. Comment 2. Man, I've been in a similar boat. My sister's ex was a piece of work, and it caused a rift when I spoke up. It's a delicate balance, supporting family but not toxic behaviour. Sounds like you're navigating it as best you can. Hang in there and keep those lines of communication open. Now, for the next story. My stepdaughter is in high school and has a best friend she's known since they were babies. My wife and I have 2 children together. My stepdaughter's best friend has a birthday in December. We are well aware of her birthday because we attend it every year. This year, my side of the family planned to take a huge overseas Christmas vacation, which required us to ask the friend's mother for the party date. We planned and bought our tickets to leave 2 days after the party so that my stepdaughter wouldn't miss it. Monday, my stepdaughter came home and told us that the party date was moved to accommodate some of her friend's family members who decided last minute to fly in for it. The problem is that the date was moved to one well after our departure date. Here's the problem. First, we're not made of money, so for us to change the flight and hotel for our family will more than double the cost. Second, it will be a 2-week overseas trip, so I already had my vacation approved and can't change it. If we fly out after the party, my vacation will be cut down to only a week. Third, I only get to see some of my siblings only at Christmas. So if I don't go this year, I won't see them until next year. Fourth, my entire side of the family planned our vacation around the party date months ago. My original solution was to tell her friends' parents to keep their original date since my family planned around their schedule. My wife immediately shot down that idea. My second solution was for us to leave as planned, but change only my stepdaughter's ticket since she's on break and is old enough to fly herself. My wife shot that down too since she's also friends with the other mother and wants to go to the party. My wife's solution is for us to just fly out after the party. I don't like this idea at all because of the added cost and lessening time. Our talk turned into arguments that lasted all week. Last night my wife put her foot down and said that we're not missing the birthday party, to which I replied that she's not missing the birthday party. I told her I'm flying out with our 2 kids as planned, whether or not she's on the flight. That took our argument to the next level, to the point my stepdaughter called me an AH, so I tried to ground her, at which point my wife said I couldn't because she was justified. Everything is a mess now. Update. There are 2 common questions and I think I should answer. It's a sweet 16 birthday party. It's going to be huge with over 100 people in attendance and catered food. I've been told almost everyone in their class is attending. The other mother and my wife have been friends since the birth of their girls. She helped my wife through her divorce and my stepdaughter stayed with them for days at a time during the worst part of that process. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Wow, talk about spoiled entitled brats. So you're supposed to rearrange your family vacation for your stepdaughter's friend's birthday party? Sounds like you need to put your foot down and leave the brats behind. Cancel both your wife's and stepdaughter's flights and let them spend all the time they want with their friends. Comment 2. Not the idiot. You scheduled and paid for your vacation after getting the date of the party. Then the friend's family changed the date and your wife wants to force either everyone to stay home or spend a fortune changing flights. Your wife and stepdaughter are acting very entitled and selfish. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around after my last post. It's been a wild few days and I've got quite the story to share. After the blowout with my wife and stepdaughter, things were tense in the house. I spent the next day avoiding everyone, cooling off, and trying to think of a solution that wouldn't end in World War III. My wife did the same and we barely spoke, which is unusual for us. We're normally the couple that talks everything out. On Tuesday, my stepdaughter came to me after school, her eyes red from crying. She apologized for calling me names and explained how important this party was to her. She said she felt torn between her best friend and the family trip. I realized then that I had been so focused on the logistics and the cost that I hadn't fully considered her feelings. I hugged her and apologized too. We were both stubborn, but that moment softened the edges of our argument. The next day, my wife and I sat down to talk. It was a long conversation, filled with apologies and understanding. She admitted that she had been too quick to dismiss my concerns about the cost and the shortened vacation. I admitted that I had been too rigid and hadn't considered her bond with her friend's family. We were both at fault, and we both knew it. We decided to call the other mother to explain our situation. She was incredibly understanding and felt terrible about the change causing such a rift. She offered to celebrate with my stepdaughter before our trip, but my stepdaughter insisted that she wanted to be at the actual party. Thursday was decision day. My wife and I crunched numbers, looked at different flight options, and even considered splitting the family up for the trip. But nothing felt right. In the end, we decided to stick to our original plan and leave as scheduled. My stepdaughter was heartbroken, but she understood the decision. We promised to make it up to her somehow. The fallout was immediate. My wife's friend was disappointed but said she understood. My wife, however, was quiet for the rest of the day. I could tell she was upset, not just about missing the party, but about the strain it put on our relationship. The day before the trip, my stepdaughter's friend came over with a small cake and a gift. They spent the day together, laughing and taking pictures. It wasn't the big celebration they had planned, but it was something. Watching them, I felt a pang of guilt for not being able to give my stepdaughter the party experience she wanted. We left for our trip on Friday, and it was bittersweet. The vacation was beautiful, and seeing my siblings was great, but there was an undercurrent of what we had missed. My wife and I were polite to each other, but the warmth was missing. We both knew it would take time to fully recover from this. The trip was shorter than we had hoped, but we made the most of it. We created some good memories, but the joy was tinged with the knowledge of the sacrifice that had been made. When we returned, my stepdaughter's friend had saved her a party favor bag and a bunch of photos. They spent another day together, recounting the party and our trip. My stepdaughter seemed to have made peace with the situation, but I knew she still felt the sting of missing out. As for my wife and me, we're slowly getting back to normal. We've had more talks, more apologies and more understanding. We both realised that we need to communicate better and consider each other's perspectives more. It wasn't the perfect resolution, but it was real life. We all learned something from this experience, and I think it's made us a stronger family, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. Sometimes love and family are about compromise and accepting that not every story has a fairy tale ending. Now, for the comments. Comment 1. Oh boy, sounds like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, or should I say a birthday cake and a plane ticket. Look, family vacations are like a rare comet. They don't come by often, and you gotta catch 'em while you can. Maybe it's time to teach the kiddo about the art of compromise and the value of family time. Plus, think of the stories you'll have for the next birthday bash. Comment 2. Have you considered a special early celebration for the friend's birthday before you jet off? It might be a nice gesture and could smooth things over. It's tough when plans clash, but it's important to weigh out what's truly valuable. Family trips are precious, and it's key to make those memories while you can. Keep that communication open, and maybe find a way to celebrate both the trip and the friendship. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.